It's another day, left jab, right jab, this is MMA. Mixed martial arts, quick body parts, undefeated when I pick 'em. Who the champ, who the victim, looking in my crystal ball, I predict the winner. Never stop fighting, if you lose, keep your chin up. You know how the game go, I'm a smart fella. Welcome to the show, this the MMA fortune teller.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.
What's up, everybody? MMA live discussion episode 22. Returning after a quick little hiatus. I haven't done one of these in a couple of weeks. I had some things going on, but here I am, man. I'm back, and I'm happy to be back with you guys and chat all things MMA. Obviously, we got another fight card because, like I've been saying, it's every single weekend we have a fight card nowadays, so it's just nothing new. We always got a fight card to talk about and to break down in depth. And it looks like we're going to be having Anderson Silva's last fight. So, this is a big deal, man. Anderson Silva is going to be retiring. And again, man, I talked about it on my Instagram a couple days ago. I made a post for Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva is truly one of the greatest of all time. So it's going to be a pleasure to watch him fight in there one more time. Do keep in mind that he is 45 years old, and he's coming off a pretty tough loss too, right? I mean, it was a fight that didn't last that long. And I really hope that his body holds up in there and we actually get to see a little bit of a fight. Because, if Anderson Silva can keep it together, we know that even at the age that he's at, he's still pretty nimble and he's pretty quick in there. We saw him hang around with Israel Adesanya, even though maybe Izzy was giving him a little bit too much respect in there. But we'll see, man. We'll see how the fight goes. How's everybody doing, man? Shout out to everybody that's in here. And again, we're going to have Darrick MInner joining the show. And he's actually here right now, so I'm going to be bringing him here right now. What's up, Darrick?
What's going on, man?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Awesome, man. I'm doing great. We were just talking to the people here in the room, man. We got a nice fight card again this weekend. We got Anderson Silva. Looks like it's going to be his retirement fight, so one of the greatest of all time. We're excited about that. We're excited to have you joining us. Obviously, you're coming off a big victory, man. Shout out to you, man. That was an awesome first-round submission over TJ Laramie, a guy that a lot of people were high on. How you feeling?
Yeah, I feel great, man. It was definitely a good win. I mean, I think that it was more surprising to everybody else than it was to me and my team, So, yeah, it's definitely great, Yeah,
I think, that fight, man, looking back at it too, I think the factor that he looked so dominant in his Dana White's Contender Series fight, a lot of people were really high on him. Because looking back at that myself, I'm like, I should have saw that coming too. You're a crafty fighter that has a lot of professional fights. You have some really big wins under your belt. And that was a fight that you showed, man. You were definitely the better man in there. Beautiful guillotine.
Yeah, man. I believe, like all the fights I've been in, all the fights that he's been in, I definitely, had the experience factor going in. But, I mean, exactly on the Contender Series, man, he fought a bum, he fought a guy that I think was done 3 or 4 years ago, and I think he was just fighting for whatever, and he was tough. He was definitely tough back in the day, but that's why he got that juicy record, and then, yeah, so, it was surprising, as far as like going in the cage, I've been there a million times and I've been the underdog a lot, but as far as Contender Series, I thought he had an easier fight on the Contender Series. He was definitely dominant because myself, after that fight, I was like, no joke. I watched those fights and I was like, man, TJ looked good, and so I went to the gym the next day. I was like, I don't know if I want that fight, but I guarantee you that's what they offer me next. I swear to God, no lie. I told them, I was like, I guarantee you they offer me that. I was like, he's tough. I mean, I've been around the kid too, and I know that he is tough. So
that's funny how you called that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And
it's
yeah, man, it was meant to be, man. You get that first UFC victory. Obviously, that's what it's all about, right? The UFC, that's where it is. And to get your first victory there, man, that's amazing, huh?
yeah, man. It's definitely. I think I enjoyed it more than the majority of people nowadays, like in the UFC. I mean, I think nowadays people are getting in and they barely even touch the surface of their careers. Like, and I feel like I'm the same way. I think I'm just getting started, but it's as far as like guys are getting in at 7-0, 8-0, 8-1, 8-2. They don't appreciate it like I appreciate it. They don't appreciate the being in the UFC and winning fights for sure.
Yeah, that's a great point that you bring up. And to be honest, I haven't put too much thought into that, but that's a great point that you bring up because growing up, coming up through the ranks in your era, I believe you went pro around 2012.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a whole different type of ball game back then, right? You didn't have these opportunities just to jump in Dana White's Contender Series season with a record like that, right? I mean, you had to really battle your way through as a pro.
Yeah, man, and I'm on. The Midwest is one of the toughest circuits in the U.S., if not the world. You know what I mean? I feel like, and everybody's gritty down here. Here, and I think that having the Contender Series. I mean, I got on the Contender Series when I was, I think, 22-9, and yeah, man, it's just crazy that like still couldn't imagine this day being like 7-2, getting that call, and then happen to win on the Contender Series, and then going right at the UFC. I was definitely not ready when I only had 10 to 15 fights. Like, I think just now that like the last couple of years, am I actually ready?
Yeah, and it all seems to be working out perfectly for you because you're still cruising into your prime. If anything, your prime might even still be down the road, right? I mean, you're at the perfect age right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely. I feel like I'm just touching the surface of being in my prime, I guess if you could say. But like, I got a coach in James Krause now, and the guys down at Glory, and I feel like I truly found my home for my fight camps, and being with those guys, I go down there every 2 days out of the week right now until I get to camp. But man, I feel like I'm just now starting to get better. I don't feel like I've gotten better in a long time.
Yeah, see, that's something I definitely wanted to talk to you about because I had the pleasure of speaking with James too. James came on the show, and I think he's definitely hands down one of the best coaches in the game. So the fact that you're able to work with a guy like that, I heard you talking about certain fights that you lost that if you would have had him in your corner, that you probably would have won those fights. And I completely agree with that. You know what I mean? Having a coach that can help you out in those situations.
Yeah, man. He's just part of the new school, and his game and my game. Like, he helps me so much. Just not working. Don't work harder, work smarter. Like that's the big deal. Like, if you go back and look at every one of my losses, even the losses, like with even Herbert Burns or anybody like that, man, like I had everybody hurt. I was winning the fight up until I wasn't. I mean, there's only a couple guys that I feel like, out of my 11 losses that I should have actually like lost. But, there was a long time that I was cutting to 135, man. And I was not a small guy,
Yeah,
So,
that's a tough cut, right, for you, huh?
yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of the Herbert Burns fight, like that was a fight. I was rewatching some tape back on that, and that was a fight I remember watching it live. And to be honest, I was really pulling for you, and I was really frustrated when I saw how that played out because you were controlling that fight, and you know what I mean. If you didn't make that one mistake, I think that's a fight that you would have won. And if you ever ran that fight back, I think that you'd be the favorite going into that fight, especially having Krause in your corner now. And speaking of the things that you've learned and whatnot.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if I'll be the favorite, and I don't think I'll be the favorite for a while. I think I'll still get a lot of doubt, man, because I have 11 losses and stuff. But I think, yeah, the fight with Herbert frustrating to me. But that's how I'm gonna fight, especially in that opportunity. That's what they want to see, and so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come out and I'm a guns a-blazing, and yeah. When he went up for a couple submissions, like he pulled guard and he had a couple submissions, I took his back and like we went down. I think he swam for a thing. I'm like, dude, this dude's jiu-jitsu is not as, I mean? Like, I was like, man, I have just as good as jiu-jitsu. Like, maybe not like sport jiu-jitsu, but MMA jiu-jitsu. And like, there was on the guillotine. I heard him gurgle a little bit. There was a few things. Like, obviously, I was blasting him on the feet. Like, I don't know if he knew where he was and stuff. But yeah, man, he's crafty. He's crafty and he's long. And so, like, that was my own mistake for falling back into the triangle armbar. But yeah, every fight that you lose, you learn,
Yeah. So like we said, man, I think you have over 35 professional fights, right? Is it 36 or 35 or
36, yeah.
36? Okay, because if you go to Tapology, it says you have 35, and if you go to ShareDog, it says you had 36. So I was trying to figure out, I don't know, one of them is off, but I guess Tapology's off. But
Yeah, I'm 25 and 11, so
yeah. So 35 professional fights. You turned pro in 2012. What initially got you into mixed martial arts? How did that all what happened the first time you stepped into a gym? Did you have a mixed martial arts background, wrestling or something?
yeah, man. I wrestled. I wrestled my whole life, man. From the time I was young, and actually, what kind of got me started in mixed martial arts is I was 14, I think, and Anthony Smith was 16. We went to the same high school. We went to the same. We grew up friends, and we're from a town of 7,000 people in Nebraska City, Nebraska, and. Man, I was hanging out with them, and like he went and took a fight, so I just rode up with him, and I was sitting there, and like that's the first time that I got the experience. I'm like, oh, I would love to do that, blah blah blah. But I was like 14, 15 years old, and then I wrestled 1 year in college, and then I came back, and I was like, man, what am I gonna do, blah blah. And it was like a week later, and my buddy, a totally different buddy, was just like, he don't have no background or things. Like, I'm gonna go fight up in South Dakota. You want to come? And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go. And so yeah, I signed up to fight, and I somehow ended up armbarring the kid. I didn't even know what an armbar was, and yeah, it was the rest was history, man. And then since then, I've always wanted to do that.
That's awesome. So, and growing up in Nebraska, so you said it was a small town. How was it though, as far as like fights at school and stuff, or was it pretty much like an easygoing type of town? Or
Yeah, I mean, we scrapped, man. We scrapped a lot. It's just small town stuff, you scrap, you're drinking in the cornfields, stuff like that.
Nice.
And you end up scrapping with some random kids from out of town, small towns or even in town. And yeah, it was just, you grew up, that's what them small towns put that grit in us, I believe.
yeah, something about people from like that Midwest area too, man. They love their wrestling, right? A lot of tough guys come from those neck of the woods, man. Nebraska, all that over there.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
good stuff, man. So we touched upon the Dana White's Contender Series fight a little bit. Then you get a short notice fight, right, against Grant Dawson, who's definitely one of the best fighters in the game right now. Obviously, I know you're very familiar with Grant Dawson too, right? From even before you fought him.
Yeah, and when I'm training with him now, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's cool. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
And 8 days short notice though, and that's something you've been known for too. I know you've taken a lot of short notice fights, and you've came out on top in the majority of those, right? If almost
Yeah, man. I've almost all my short notice fights I've came out on top, and it's just taking risks. You don't have to think about it through all camp. I fought Clay Collard up at 155 on 5 days notice as I was eating Mexican, mound down Mexican, and yeah. So yeah, man. Yeah, Grant's a good fighter, but I mean, I believe I would have had a stronger forearms if I'd had a longer camp during that fight. Like my arms kind of gave out, but I mean, it was close. We've talked about it, joke about it now, but like it was definitely close.
That was a guillotine, right? Was it another guillotine, right?
Yeah. Yep.
What's up with you in the guillotine? Is that your special move or what, man?
Yeah. I've been guillotining people for a long time, man, and yeah, it's just that front headlock type stuff. And I think I have, as a pro, I think I have 11 or 12 guillotine finishes. So yeah, I mean, I definitely, and it's from everywhere, mount, against the cage, everywhere. So that's my shit.
That's my favorite sub right there. I know some people think it's like a basic sub, but I love that sub. And I know you even had that on Herbert too. I know you had Herbert locked up in that a little bit as well.
Yeah, and it was kind of like a side one, and I felt him gurgle, but like that's the thing, like too much of played in like how good his jiu-jitsu was and stuff. And I think like when I felt him gurgle, like I didn't hold on because I felt like I needed to settle a little bit more. And then I think that's why I didn't get it. But I think I should have just been a little more patient.
Yeah, but it is, man. You definitely got a nasty guillotine. So let me ask you this: so now you start training with Kraus. Just how did that all play out? Being that you fought one of his students or whatnot, or his teammates. 4 of them, right? So how did that all play out? All of a sudden, you're training with Kraus.
Man, I've talked about them before I even went to fought Grant. I was like, man, like Vegas is getting out of the way, blah, blah, blah. And I love training in Vegas. And so kind of what happened was, what was it? So TJ trained in Vegas at 10th Planet and Extreme, and that's where I was going for my camps. Okay. And I hit up my coach there, and it was kind of like I don't think he was for it. Like, I don't think he wanted that kind of like, one of his main guys is TJ's, is Cody Stamen, coach. And so I was just like, well, I was telling my manager, I was like, man, I don't know. And he's like, well, we're taking it, like he was like one of those things, like, we're taking it. And I was like, well, I could call Kraus. He's like, yeah, call Kraus. We're going to get this done. So I called Kraus, and we'd already talked about it. He talked to his team. I asked to come train with him, do camp with him. And yeah, man, it's worked out. That 3 weeks alone, I got better, and I realized, like, the hype is real on James Krause, and I'm definitely fortunate enough to be down there. And he's game planned for me 3 or 4 different times, so he knows me inside out. So it's even better. It benefits me more,
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely Krause. All Krause has been doing is winning, man. Whether he's coaching, fighting, that guy is a straight winner. So that's an awesome thing, man, to have him in your corner. And again, man, we already touched upon this, but the TJ Laramie fight, awesome finish. And do you have any idea what's next for you? You got any idea anyone you want to fight or?
Yeah, man, there's guys, man, but I'll fight anybody. As I'm kind of like letting my manager and James do that. If they send us a name, I'll probably end up fighting whoever they send, because I'm not picky, man. I like to fight, and I feel like I'm just starting to touch, like, getting better, started to touch my prime, and I think I can beat anybody at any given day, And so yeah, I don't know what's next. Hopefully by the end of the year, I'm hoping to get the news in the next week or so. That's what I've been kind of asking for, like, something soon, because I'll fight in 4, 5, 6 weeks and knock it out before the holidays.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm excited to see who they match you up against. All right, I got a couple quick questions for you. You can answer these with one word or whatnot. Just some fun questions real quick.
Cool.
If you had a dream matchup, who would it be against?
Man, that's the thing. I'm not nothing. I want to stand across from one of the guys that I've looked up to in my whole career, like, whether it be probably like a Frankie Edgar or something like that, just because, when you stand across from those guys, you realize, like, all right, man, this is real. Like, I think the adrenaline, the emotions would be awesome in a fight like that. A guy that's, been around the game for a long time and has been winning the UFC. I think fights like that, and, eventually, hopefully one day, crack that top 10 and see where we go from there.
Yeah, Frankie is a true legend, man. That'd be surreal. I couldn't even imagine looking across the octagon at Frankie, man. You like warm weather or cold weather?
Man, 75, but we only get that not very often.
Yeah. Rather have a knockout or a submission?
Man, knockout would be cool. I mean, I've had a lot of submissions.
Yeah. Best featherweight of all time?
Man, Max Holloway, probably.
Favorite cheat meal?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. And who is let's see, what do we best? I said to ask you that already. What's the best knockout you ever seen? Best knockout you ever seen?
Man, probably like the best knockouts, like a Uriah Hall spinning kick, or like, that dude that did the spinning kick and caught that dude in the face the other week. That was kind of cool. Man. I mean, knockouts like that are always fun. Yeah,
that nasty. I don't even know what you call it. I forget the name of that, but yeah, Joaquin Buckley. That guy's nasty. That was a beautiful knockout, man, for sure.
Looked like some sweet chin music, Shawn Michaels.
Mm-hmm. It did, man. Yeah, man. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. You want to shout out any sponsors or let everybody know where they can find you on Instagram, Twitter, any social media? You want to let the fans do anything, man? I'll leave it open to you.
Yeah, man. I just thank all the people that's been behind me since day one. I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of people and support me and help me out during this journey. And then my social media is on Twitter is @Darrick MInner, Instagram. Should I just change it? I don't know. DMinner 145, I believe. So yeah,
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
So,
I'm gonna check it for you real quick, because you know what? I wanted to ask you something. Did it say 135 or 145?
It used to say Minner 135, but I had to change it.
Oh, you changed? Okay. Yeah, maybe I remember. Okay, yeah. So it is DMinner 145 for everyone that's watching.
It haunts me every time I see 135. So I was done looking at it.
Yeah, man. I could only imagine, man. Well, we're all pumped, man, to see who they match you up with again moving forward. We'll be rooting you on, man. And anytime you want to come on, man, it'll be a pleasure to have you on. You have an open platform here, and I appreciate you giving us the time.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, man. I'll see you.
Yep.
There we go, man. Darrick MInner. That was cool, man. Yeah, man. We'll see who they match him up with against next. Definitely coming off a big victory. TJ Laramie was a guy that was really, really hyped up going into that fight. And, MInner brought up a good point. The guy he was fighting, his record was a little bit padded. But at the same time, I mean, he looked very dominant in that fight. So, that was a big victory for him, in my opinion. I think that guy Laramie is going to be around for a bit. So to go in there and finish him in the first round, I think that's a good feather in his cap. And, in the featherweight division, there's a lot of top fighters in that division, a lot of solid fighters. So, he has an opportunity to be matched up with a lot of different guys. I'm going to be peeking over here at the Bellator. The Bellator fights. We got this is the second round. I'm just pulling this up right now. I believe this is Ty Gorder taking on Dalton Rosta. So just popping in here in the second round. We got some good fights moving forward. And you guys all watching the Bellator fights or what? And in the meantime, you guys know what time it is. We got to talk about the fight card taking place this weekend. We do have a rescheduled bout. Kevin Holland it just got a new opponent, so I want to talk about this new opponent. Been watching some tape on him, and I want to give you guys my thoughts upon that fight. He is now fighting Charlie Ontiveros. That's a guy we've seen fight over in Bellator. Obviously, a fight that probably a lot of you guys are familiar with him was when Michael Venom Page, if you guys watch his fights, Michael Venom Page destroyed him, finished him quite early in that fight. Charlie is 11-6. This may be the product of, they really didn't have too many fighters on call ready to go. I'm not exactly sure if this guy is UFC caliber, if I'm being quite honest here. And he's definitely not on the level of a Kevin Holland. He did win 2 fights in a row by way of knockout in the first round. But, I don't know, man. I think that Kevin Holland is a guy that's just a nasty striker. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is going to be in a whole nother level. This guy, Charlie, he allowed Michael Venom Page to go in there and take him down. He made MVP look like a Division I wrestler, the way he just ripped him down. So that's very alarming because, Kevin Holland, in my opinion, is probably has better takedowns than MVP and is definitely way better on the mat for sure. There's no question about that. So, he's going to rip him down to the mat probably and probably sub him in the first round. The line that I see right now is right around -900. -900 for Holland, and I think that's probably reasonable. And if anything, I think that line's going to even blow up even worse. We'll probably see Holland right around -1200, -1300. Daniel Son says he had $400 on Holland from that last fight. Yeah, his fight that just got canceled with Muradov, who's a tough customer. Okay, so you were high on Holland. So obviously, there's not even a question who's going to win this new scheduled bout. Who do you got in the Bellator main event? I am leaning Gegard Mousasi. And, as far as betting wise, I would think it's better to take a step back. Mousasi right now is right around, -170, 190, 180, right in that range, from 170 to 190. And I think that if you were going to grab Mousasi, you should have been able to grab him right around -150, 160, which you could have done if you were on top of it. But, personally, I'm taking a step back on this fight. I just want to enjoy it. Lima is a guy that can knock anybody out. So, don't be surprised if Lima goes in there and gets a knockout. I talked about this before. Mousasi has had some mental lapses in there. I really shouldn't even phrase it like that. I mean, this guy's gone to battle so many times. So, I mean, it's only inevitable that that's going to happen. But, we've seen him have a mental error in there and get, hit with a kick by Uriah Hall and get finished. I think that Lima is a guy that can catch you with something and hurt you. So Lima is definitely live. Lima is one of the best welterweight fighters in the world. Obviously, he's moving up in weight for this fight. And, he's trying to be a double weight champ, a welterweight and a middleweight champion. And Gegard Mousasi is going to be the naturally bigger fighter. Mousasi has a nasty jab. Mousasi can sit back on that jab and can easily point out a decision here. I don't necessarily see Mousasi winning by finish, if I'm being honest. I don't necessarily see that happening. Although, he definitely has the abilities to finish anybody, but I think if he wins this fight, it's more of a decision. We just saw him win a split decision over Lyoto Machida. Machida was looking like he was serious about that fight too. He took it serious and whatnot. Before that, he lost the fight against Rafael Lavata Jr., but Lavato is the real deal. And then before that, you guys know the deal. Mousasi was on about a 7-8 fight win streak. Took out Roy McDonald, finished him in the second round. Rafael Carvalho, Alexander Shlemenko. The list goes on and on with that guy. An absolute legend in the game. Been looking for a good prop bet for Holland. Yeah, maybe you can get a decent line on a finish or something like that. Daniel San taking Lima if he can keep it standing. Yeah, he does. Okay, you guys want to talk about the Bryce Mitchell versus Andre Fili fight? I would love to talk about that fight some more in depth. Let me pull that up for you guys real quick. Give me 1 second. Because if you ask me, that's the fight of the night right there, man. I really believe it. Here we go. Let me pull this up for you guys real quick. All right, so you guys can see what I'm looking at here. Yeah, without a doubt. I can't wait to see Anderson Silva throw down in his last fight, but I think Bryce Mitchell versus Andre Fili is the fight. Bryce Mitchell is a guy that's really, really making a name for himself in the game right now. And here's the thing, man. When it comes to Bryce Mitchell, I think that Bryce Mitchell is a guy that has some type of it factor. What he was able to do in his last couple fights, the way that he went out there and just so viciously just mauled his opponents with his BJJ, this guy seems to have the it factor, in my opinion. So if he can get this fight down to the mat, I think that he could really do some damage to Fili, possibly get a submission. This guy's pulling twisters and this and that. I don't necessarily think that he's going to go in there and pull off a twister on Fili, but for a guy that can pull off twisters and whatnot, this is a guy that's going to be dangerous anywhere on the mat, man. This is a guy that's going to have a nasty guillotine, a nasty triangle choke, and all types of submissions, and it's just a matter of time before that all comes out. Mark my word on that. Bryce Mitchell has been putting time in on the mats, and I think he's really going to start pulling subs on dudes. We've seen Andre Fili get subbed recently too. He got subbed by who was that dude? He just got subbed not too long ago. I guess it was a while back, actually. It was 2015. Yeah, he got triangle choked by Godfredo Pepe. That was a guy that never could really hang around the UFC. But, 5 years ago, that's a long time. That's 5 years that he's put in on the mats and hasn't been subbed since. But still, I think there's an opportunity for him to be subbed there. On the feet, lost a split decision to Michael Johnson. That probably was a fight that he won. But still, Michael Johnson, he has flashes on the feet. He kind of played into MJ's game there. But again, Mitchell is a guy to me that I think has a little bit of an it factor. And I think that this guy, his striking is going to come around, and his ground game, we've already seen flashes. And I think this guy is going to really come around as a fighter. Still very, very young, 26 years old. I think that I'm edging him here. And now in regards to betting on this fight, I'll tell you guys this much. I wouldn't feel comfortable even touching Mitchell at a line like minus 180, minus 170. It was blown up there for a while. I do know as of recently the line has came down a little bit. So, if you were targeting betting Bryce Mitchell, you definitely want to get him at a reasonable line. Otherwise, I'm going to say, the opposite. The value would be on Fili if you're getting that high line. Right now, as of recently, money has been pretty much continuously coming in on Fili. So, you can grab Bryce Mitchell right now as low as minus 135, minus 150, minus 140, right in that range. I think that's playable if you like Mitchell there. And if you were going to take Fili, you should have been on Fili earlier. You should have been grabbing Fili where there was a nice line that you could have jumped upon, some real value there. Because Fili obviously, is a legit fighter. He's a dude that grew up over at Team Alpha Male. He could grapple, he could strike, he's rangy, he's long for the division. So that's pretty much my thoughts on that fight there. If you guys have any other questions upon that fight, I think the Mitchell Diamond fight is really interesting. Fili's teammate, former D1 wrestler. Mitchell out-grappled him, but kind of gassed out, and I think he lost, to be honest. Yeah, I'm very familiar with that fight, man. Tyler Diamond, that was a guy he was really the favorite to win the Ultimate Fighter, if you guys remember, right? Division I wrestler. He was the guy I thought he was going to win. He was really my front runner to take it all, Tyler Diamond. And I actually had a little bit of money on Tyler Diamond in that fight. I remember I was in Greece at the time. I was traveling. I was watching the fight at all different awkward times of the day. You know, I forget what time it was when I watched that, whatever the time difference was. Yes, I was a little disappointed that Bryce Mitchell won that fight because I lost some money on that. If I remember correctly, though, man, it was a very, very close fight. It was a very close fight. And I thought that Diamond kind of gassed out. And you mentioned somebody gassing out. So I don't know. Were you talking about Diamond gassing out or Mitchell gassing out? Mitchell out-grappled him but kind of gassed out, and I think he lost. See, if I remember correctly, the way I thought about that fight was Diamond kind of gassed out. But either way, though, man, I see your point. But that, again, man, think about this now. Bryce Mitchell was a guy that really, to my knowledge, doesn't have any legit wrestling type of background, and he was going in there and he was grappling with a former Division I wrestler. That just shows you the X factor that guy has. Bryce Mitchell went in that fight and just puts his nose down, man. The guy is just a hard-nosed type of dude, and he went straight at Tyler Diamond in that fight. And Tyler Diamond, it looks like Tyler Diamond, yeah, he won 2 fights outside of the UFC now. Just to look upon that real quick. So maybe we'll be seeing Tyler Diamond in a fight for the UFC here sometime soon, maybe a Dana White's Contender Series fight. I hope they give him another opportunity. I'm going to peek over at the Bellator fights. Looks like we got a winner over here, huh? Who do we got winning this fight that's going on right now? And that was Dalton Rasta. Yeah, that guy Dalton, man, you look at him going into that fight, that guy is a physical specimen. And, I was kind of bouncing back and forth. I didn't really watch that fight, the entire thing. I got to go back and run the tape back on that. But I know that guy is now, 4-0? 4-0, and there's some people that are high in that kid, Dalton. So we'll keep an eye on him. We got 2 fights now. We got Henry Corrales and Brandon Gertz, and then we got Mousasi and Lima. Let me see what else you guys are talking about here. Try to catch up to these comments. He looked hopeless on his back against Sodiq, but he was the one getting the takedowns. In regards to Fili. Okay. Got Fili at plus 150. He should have been the favorite, in my opinion. Turn it up. Okay. Going with Fili. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't see Fili being the favorite just because Bryce Mitchell really has a lot of hype behind him. And again, I just think that what he's done inside the octagon as of recently has really kind of opened some people's eyes up because there's not a lot of guys going out there. For example, the Charles Rosa fight. Charles Rosa, if you guys don't realize, Charles Rosa is a nasty grappler. Charles Rosa is a legit grappler. I mean, that's his strength. That guy's put a lot of time in on the mats. And as you saw, he had some excellent submission defense. He was able to avoid the subs. But, I mean, the way that Bryce Mitchell mopped him in that fight, literally mopped him. I mean, every time that Rosa threw something out or threw a defensive move in there, he was able to avoid some sub attempts by Mitchell, but Mitchell was just on to the next one. I mean, you really got to admire the transitions that Mitchell was doing in there. Okay, all right, I'm not going to get that. Then boom, I'm going to slide over. I'm going to mount you. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm going to go from here to here. I'm going to take your back. You know what I mean? I'm going to put you in side control. I'm going to put you in a position where I'm trying to pull a twister off. I mean, it was really impressive to me. And that's the reason why I think that, he was going to be going in there as a favorite against Fili. But Fili is a guy that's very well-rounded, and I understand. I do understand what you're saying. Fili is a dangerous fighter. But that's maybe some value there, plus 150 if you like that. Me personally, I like Mitchell. I like Mitchell to win this fight. Like I said, I think that the grappling is going to come into play. I think that Mitchell's going to get some takedowns in this fight. I'll go on record and say that I think that Mitchell gets this fight down to the mat. I do. I think he's going to be relentless with the takedowns, and I think that he ends up getting one. And the thing is, if he gets one, we'll see where it goes from there. If he's not able to get those takedowns, though, Andre Fili will be poking at him. All right. Trying to get this stupid these McAfees. You guys got those things popping up on your computer too, man. I gotta get this McAfee crap off my computer. All right. Hopefully it's not interfering with the show here, but all right. What else, man? What other fights? Let's see what you guys are talking about. Any other fights you guys want to talk about in regards to the weekend? We could talk a little bit more upon a certain fight. Mitchell sub at plus 220 is interesting. Some value there. There's definitely some value. And if he does get this fight down to the mat, like I do think he should at one point in time, he's definitely live for a sub. I'm waiting till after the first round if I bet this one. Scrappy Coco. Shout out to Scrappy Coco in the house. And again, man, I hope you guys have been cashing your bets, man, because it's been hot over here, man. We've been making some money. This past weekend, we went 3 for 4. I did take a stab at Gaethje, and I have no problem with that, man. I took that stab on Gaethje, 1.5 unit play, and I thought he had a chance to win that fight. Obviously, Khabib is just a beast. And actually, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about who is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the game right now. That's the next topic I want to move on to. I personally think Khabib is the greatest fighter to ever do it. I think that he is definitely much more of a GOAT than Jon Jones is or ever will be. In my opinion, I think that Jon Jones is a guy that's been squeaking by close decision victories. I think that Jon Jones, to be honest, I know some of you guys might get upset about this, man, but I think Jon Jones is a guy that really made a name for himself by taking out these old type of veterans when the sport really wasn't on the level. That's really what I think. I mean, the sport was still kind of evolving, and a lot of those guys he was beating were a different breed of light heavyweights. I think that if he stuck around the light heavyweight division, good luck at taking out Jan Blachowicz, good luck at taking out Alexander Rakic. And I'm not saying that all those guys are going to beat him. I mean, obviously, Jon Jones is an amazing fighter, but what I'm getting at is that good luck stringing off victory after victory after victory in the division. I think that one of those guys was going to catch up to him. I mean, Dominic Reyes looked amazing against him. You saw how Dominic Reyes just looked against Jan Blachowicz. Now, let me ask you this, too. What about this new guy we have from the Czech Republic, right? The Czech fighter. Yuri, I forget exactly how to pronounce his last name. Yuri Prakovic, whatever. Yuri, that guy's fighting Dominic Reyes right now, right? That fight just got scheduled if you guys have seen that. Watch how that guy Yuri looks against Dominic Reyes. I guarantee you he's going to knock Dominic Reyes out. If you think that if he just got knocked out by Jan Blachowicz, who does have some nasty power, if you think you're going to battle against a guy like Yuri, that guy has shown it's a straight war once the fight starts. That guy Yuri is going to connect at one point in time, and I think he's going to hurt. I think he's going to hurt Reyes. I think Reyes' chin just got hurt pretty bad, and I think it's going to be weary. So, just keep an eye on the light heavyweight division. There's a lot of new blood, and I'm going to drop the link for you guys. If any of you guys want to tell me your thoughts on who the pound for pound best fighter in the game is right now, come on in and make your case. Tell me who the best pound for pound fighter is, or the greatest of all time. How about that? Make it simple. If Khabib retired, who is the greatest to ever do it? And there's the link. Somebody was just asking for it. Kevin from Chicago. Hop in, Kev. The Reyes that fought Jon Jones wasn't the same guy that fought Jan. I mean, how do you all of a sudden become a different guy in such a short amount of time? I don't know, man. I think that the division is evolving. I think some of these big boys, their game is starting to evolve. Jan Blachowicz was throwing a nasty body kick. He has power in his hands. His game is coming around full circle, where I think Jon Jones was in his prime already a while back. I really do believe that. I think Jon Jones was at his peak a while back. For whatever reason, I understand the age doesn't necessarily correlate with that, but I think that Jon Jones, he's put some time in the game. And I think that maybe some distractions or whatnot has led him to not be as dominant of a fighter, but more so that he's fighting a higher level of talent. He's fighting these guys that they're not a Shogun Rua. They're not a Quentin Jackson. They're not a Rashad Evans. I know those guys have had moments in their careers, man, but towards the time that he was fighting them, they really weren't necessarily that much on the level of where these guys are right now. So I think Jon Jones made the right decision by leaving the division. Now, Khabib, on the other hand, Khabib is a guy, He's gone in there. He's mauled guys, man, like Justin Gaethje. We're talking about the peak level of a lightweight fighter. Conor McGregor, love him or hate him, man. That guy is so talented, man. Come on. Going in there, finishing him again like that, or finishing another guy like that. Who else is he taking out, man? Khabib is taking out. He's taking out a lot of fighters, man. Dustin Poirier, man. One of the most well-rounded, solid fighters in the game. I'm going to bring Kevin. Let's see what Kev's talking about. Hold on, Kev. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, what's up, man? You hear me?
Yeah, man, I can hear you good. How you doing?
Pretty good. I just want a couple of quick points because I've been listening to Sirius XM. I've been listening to their takes, and all they've been doing is riding John Jones' jock, saying, "Oh no, Khabib can never be GOAT. John Jones is a GOAT." And for the people that want to bring up steroids, he would be the GOAT with or without them. And you want to use that argument, it's a slippery slope and this and that. They're just making excuses for him after excuse. It's like, how can you be the GOAT when you fail drug tests, when you fail PED test? Like, I was all on the TJ Dillashaw bandwagon. I thought he was the bantamweight GOAT. Then he failed the PED test for EPO, and he's off the GOAT list. Cruz is now the GOAT at bantamweight. So it's just the people making excuses. Oh, it's a slippery slope. You can't do that. And I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's actually some great points that Kevin brings up here. And that's something that didn't really slip my mind, but I should have brought that up as well, man. The failed drug tests. I mean, he had multiple failed drug tests. I know that not all of them were for performance-enhancing drugs. He had the little weird situation, right? Which I think he had cocaine. He had a couple different situations. But there was one with the pico, right? The picogram, whatever that was. I mean, that was a sign of performance-enhancing drugs. That should have not been in his system. No matter how small of levels trace amounts were found in him. I mean, it could have just been a significant time had passed, but he was obviously messing around with something. And how about this? Do you remember his performance after getting caught with? I think it was right around that test. Remember the performance he has after that? He goes in there and he fights a guy like OSP and looks horrible in there all of a sudden. Right around when USADA came in and all that.
Yep, he's had one good performance since USADA, and that was against Alexander Gustafsson. That was a washed up
in the rematch.
Gustafsson.
In the rematch. Yeah. And Gustafsson has shown that all of a sudden that guy is just, he can't keep his head in the game. He's made a bunch of mental errors in there recently, right? Just got subbed by Fabricio Verdum. He got subbed by Anthony Smith. He's just been dropping the ball left and right. But John Jones did look good in that fight. He did look good in that fight. But yeah, man. So do you think that Khabib is the greatest of all time, or are you on somebody else like a GSP or a Silva or Fedor? Who do you think is the greatest of all time?
I got GSP. And the reason I got GSP is the competition he fought. Someone like Josh Koscheck, where when Josh Koscheck fought GSP, Josh Koscheck was dangerous. Like, he had really explosive wrestling background, 2-time Division I national champion. Just, you look at his credentials in wrestling, he was a 2-time champion, while Justin Gaethje, he was only a 1-time All-American. He took 5th place once. So the level of talent in that department not even comparable. So, and then you look at someone like Jake Shields. He choked out Dan Henderson. Just, I feel like his level of competition was a little bit higher, even with the losses to Sarah. He came back and avenged them. So the double champ came up and took that 185 belt. I got to go GSP. And then someone else that doesn't get a lot of credit, Stipe Miocic. Look at the guys he's beaten and just murder his road, legend after legend. Fabricio Verdum, look at the wins on Fabricio's list. Alistair Overeem, Junior Dos Santos, the New Wave, Francis Ngannou, Daniel Cormier, just list after list.
Yep.
And I can't leave off Mighty Mouse. I know a lot of people hate on Mighty Mouse. They think the competition isn't as great, but you can only do what's in front of you. You can only work with what they give you, know what I mean?
Yeah, yep. And, his one loss was pretty much a questionable loss there. And we now see what Henry Cejudo is all about. I mean, he's a serious fighter. And that was a very close fight. It could have went either way. Definitely shout out to Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse was definitely up there on the GOAT list. Not sure why he decided. I think that he decided to be a little bit difficult with the UFC. I would have liked to have seen him really went all in, trying to be one of the GOATs, maybe even moving back up to bantamweight and fighting there again. I remember watching him fight against guys like Dominic Cruz. And if you remember that Dominic Cruz fight, man, he gave Dominic Cruz a run for his money. And that was up, in the bantamweight division. I used to watch Mighty Mouse fight in the WEC. If you're familiar with the WEC, he was over there and he was a bantamweight fighter because there was no such thing as a flyweight division.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I would say those are the top three. Then I go Khabib and Fedor. Those two are in the mix. I know people like to talk about Randy Couture, people like that, but the level of competition since then, it's light years ahead.
You can't compare guys to the names that we just talked about. And much respect to Couture and all those guys too, but you can't, there's a category of guys, and we're talking GSP, Anderson Silva, John Jones, Khabib, Fedor, Mighty Mouse, and then really you can't. It's kind of hard to start bringing in some of those other guys, in my opinion, personally. But you know what? St. Pierre was my favorite fighter, man. Before Conor came in the game, man, I was a diehard GSP fan. When GSP retired from the game, man, my heart broke because he had so much more to do in the game, in my opinion. He would have went in there, he would have taken out so many more guys, and kind of broke my heart a little bit. But it is GSP got caught by a shot from Matt Serra, which he dominated him in the rematch. He should have never made that little mistake to get caught in that fight. He would have dominated that fight. The Matt Hughes fight, he was so young at the time. One little mental error, man. He put his arm out there. I believe he got armbarred, right? And if he didn't lose those fights, he's a fighter that should have went undefeated, man. GSP shouldn't have lost to anybody. But he did.
You know what? Another point they like to bring up when it comes to the steroids is, well, everybody was on it. Everybody was juicing. Well, if everybody was juicing, then they're all disqualified from GOAT conversation.
Yep. Yeah, man. Well, hey, listen, Anderson Silva is a guy that I feel pretty strongly that was taking some type of performance-enhancing drugs, right? He popped for it against what? Was it Nick Diaz or somebody? He popped for a drug test. So
I think a couple times, yeah. I think it's a couple times.
Yeah, sometimes. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, they said the excuse was trying to heal from that broken leg with Chris Weidman. That's why he took it. And then with the TJ Dillashaw, they say, well, the excuse is he was trying to cut down to 125. I don't give a shit what the reason is. The fact is that he took it and he failed, so he's eliminated from going. Just the excuses I hear from these mainstream talking heads like on SiriusXM, they got these big platforms, completely making excuses. It just rubs me the wrong way. But hey, I want to get my final thoughts on this Bryce Mitchell versus Touchy Feely, because for me that's the fight of the weekend. This is a tough matchup for Mitchell. It just seems like a really tough matchup because Feely can wrestle. He can scrap. He scrambles really good. Hard to take down. I haven't really seen him taken down and held down. So this is going to be a tough night. It's going to prove to see if Mitchell's the real deal or not. See if he's title contender or if he's sort of a mid-tier pack. So I'm really looking forward to that. But I do think Mitchell can get it done, take him down, grind him out, get the decision. But I'll leave you to it.
All right. Awesome, man. Thank you for popping in, Kev.
Thanks for taking the time.
Anytime, bro. Yeah, awesome, man. Great to have Kev joining us. Definitely knows his stuff there. And, I pretty much agree with everything that he said about that Mitchell fight. I think that Feely is a dangerous customer. But at the end of the day, I think that Mitchell gets that fight done. I think that he's going to be able to get this fight down to the mat at a certain point in this fight. And I think that if he gets it down to the mat, I feel pretty confident he'll be able to keep it there whenever he does. So, even if he can get it there 2 of the 3 rounds, he'll probably take the rounds there so he can pull off a decision. His top game is relentless. I mean, he's very tight as well. Even though he's scrambling around, swapping into different positions, he's very tight as well. There's not a lot of space there. You don't see guys jumping up and getting up when he gets them down. So I think Bryce Mitchell gets it done. But if he can't get the fight down to the mat, he can definitely be in some big trouble. Andre Feely is a guy, very rangy. The striking is there. Andre Feely has some good striking. And, we've seen him throw hands with some of the most dangerous fighters in the division. So he's been in harm's way there, and he's completely handled himself, very good, so I wouldn't expect Bryce Mitchell to go out there and be a major threat on the feet. I don't expect Bryce Mitchell to go out there, head hunting, going in there to knock out Feely. I think it's about the ground game. So, that's how I feel about that. I want to touch upon something we just talked about. Kev was talking about the mainstream media, Sirius, sports talk radio and ESPN and whatnot. And I will say this, I can't even watch them, man. I had ESPN on the other day just because I had to hear all the recap about the World Series. I'm a big baseball fan as well. And, I had the World Series stuff going on. But as soon as I saw them start talking about is Khabib the GOAT or this and that, I saw them preview that whole topic and went to a commercial. I had to turn the TV off immediately because I've learned my lesson. It just absolutely makes me cringe when I see mainstream media talking about MMA, and particularly the ESPN network, and these ESPN talking heads, as Kev talked about. So, I'm not a fan of ESPN when it comes to MMA. They need to start putting in guys that actually know what they're talking about in regards to the sport, and put guys that actually know what they're talking about, and groom an MMA guy that can come in when you're talking about MMA. You're going to have this guy pop in. Come on, you guys got the money. You got to have somebody on salary that's an MMA specialist. I know they bring in guys here and there. You got the Chael Sonnens and whatnot popping in, but I'm talking about an actual anchor or whatnot. Maybe have a type of guy like a Stephen A. Smith, some guy like that talks, that knows a little bit more about the sport. So really, really hard to listen to those guys, man. Yeah, you just can't listen to them, Dan, huh? Also agree with what you're saying, man. Yeah, DJ should have moved up. Just to talk about Demetrius Johnson again real quick. We'll go back to the pound for pound talk. Demetrius Johnson was not willing to work with the UFC and making some of those big fights. He was dodging the TJ Dillashaw fight. This was a guy that really wasn't willing to cooperate, which is obviously the reason why the UFC was willing to make that deal, basically to trade Ben Askren for Demetrius Johnson. Which really worked out best for both. I mean, Askren did retire, so the UFC didn't get so much out of it compared to what ONE FC is getting out of Demetrius Johnson. But Dana White's just not going to deal with that crap. So, it is what it is in regards to that. But Demetrius Johnson was a hell of a fighter. Daniel Salmon, I appreciate you, man. And like I said, man, expect big things coming from this channel. We're just getting things going. Once things get back to normal, I'm going to be on the prowl, just completely pushing out my channel, man. I'm going to be hitting up all these events, just attacking people, letting them know that we got an MMA channel here that we're going to get going. So I promise you guys that. Let's check out what's going on over at Bellator. Let's see. I guess we had the Henry Corrales versus Brandon Gertz fight. Did that start up yet or what? I'm kind of slacking on checking them out. Yeah, we do. The fight is going on, right? What are we in? Or in the second round? Okay. Have you guys been watching this fight? Who's winning this fight? I'm assuming Corrales is probably pushing the action in this fight. Corrales is a tough fighter. Thank you, Daniel. What else we got? Yeah, I kind of wanted to stick around and watch the main event with you guys, so we got a little bit of time going until the main event. I'm going to take another peek at the fight card, man, see if there's any other exciting fights that we could talk about. I guess we need to talk about Anderson Silva versus Uriah Hall a little bit more. 5-round main event. Anderson Silva is 45 years old. He is coming off that first round loss to Jared Cannonier. His leg wasn't holding up. You really got to wonder, man, is he going to be able to actually hang around, man, for 25 minutes with Cannonier? With Uriah Hall. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Uriah Hall, he can throw some nasty leg kicks as well. I mean, maybe Anderson Silva's body's just I'm sure it is. His body's slowing down. He's 45 years old. He might go in there again and just be taken out early, man. But again, Uriah Hall is a guy. He's a guy that kind of plays that point style type of fighting. He does have knockout power, but this is a guy that, we saw Israel Adesanya play around with Anderson Silva. Silva was able to hang around. Uriah Hall might kind of play it similar to that. And I don't think Uriah Hall is as talented as Israel Adesanya. So maybe Anderson Silva keeps it close enough that the judges give the fight to the legend in Anderson Silva. We've seen Anderson Silva win some decisions that he shouldn't have necessarily won. People really respect the name, man. The Derek Brunson fight, maybe not too many, really. I guess really he's been on the bad end of the stick in regards to some fights as well, so I will give him that. The Michael Bisping fight, I believe that fight took place in England. Yeah, so that was a little bit of a hometown edge for Bisping. That was a close fight, and a fight that Silva was close to stopping. But the Derek Brunson fight was a fight he probably should have lost. And if he would have lost that fight, we're talking about this guy hasn't won a fight in his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fights. The Nick Diaz fight he did win, but it was a no contest due to the drug test, right? So yeah, I mean, we got to go with Uriah Hall. Definitely got to go with Uriah Hall. Yeah, Jake Hager, however you say that. I know he's a WWE wrestler or whatnot. I did see that fight. That was a fight that it was entertaining, right? It was quite entertaining. I mean, those guys were throwing down, and that other guy was actually putting it on him a little bit. I think it was in the second round. He put it on him a little bit. Some questionable coaching. If you heard the coaches in the background, they're telling him to he was starting to go in for another Fury. He was throwing against Hager against the fence. And his coaches were like, hey, take the center, back up. And then all of a sudden, Hager started to come out and throw some shots. Some questionable coaching there. And, Corrales throwing some leg kicks here. Henry Corrales, man. Henry Corrales, 17-5. This guy is truly one of the staples of the Bellator promotion. Been watching him fight in Bellator all the way back from 2015. This guy's definitely been hanging around. Has a big victory over Aaron Pico. Did knock out Aaron Pico. His last 2 losses were against some real legit opponents, Juan Archuleta and Darian Caldwell. So, he's a good fighter. Brandon Gertz, 16-9. Pretty much a muscle-bound wrestler type of dude. Not so fluid on the feet. And really have been having trouble pulling off a victory in the octagon recently, but losing 2 top Bellator fighters. But we're coming up on an hour. Shout out to Darrick MInner, man. Yeah, we're coming up on an hour. I was going to hang around, man, and watch the main event. I was hoping it was going to time out better, but we got some time to the main event. I think I'm going to put my feet up and grub out on some food over here. And I don't know what I'm going to eat. I got the fridge packed, so I'll put some food out, and I'm going to watch this main event. I'm excited for the main event. I got 2 plays locked in for this weekend. 2 plays locked in for this card. I will say this. I do think this card is a little bit of a sketchy card. So fair warning to you guys. If you guys feel like you have your spots, then, go in all day. But I do feel this card is a little bit sketchy. Be careful. Be careful. Obviously, we got to have some money come in on this card. So I got 2 plays locked in. If anybody's interested, you guys know the deal. If you're interested in my pricing, you can reach out to me on Instagram, email, all that. MMA fortuneteller at gmail.com. Instagram, MMA fortuneteller _. Twitter's still going down. The MMA Teller, getting that going. What's up with Razor Rob McCullough? What's Razor Rob McCullough up to nowadays, man? Great question. You just sucked me back into this conversation, man. I'm a big fan of Rob McCullough. I actually just shot him a message. Him and Doug Marshall, I shot them a message, man. And those were my 2 favorite WEC fighters, if not my top 3. Uriah Faber, Razor Rob McCullough, Doug the Rhino Marshall, and yeah, man. I don't know, man. I think the last I heard, Rob McCullough is he's running a UFC gym over there in California. So I think that's what he's pretty much doing. He is running a UFC gym over in California. And Rob McCullough was a nasty striker, and one of the real legit champions in WEC back in the day, man. I remember flipping through the TV the old school way with the remote, flipping that regular cable, pulling up the Versus channel up in Tallahassee. I was going to FSU. Putting on my WEC, man, watching Razor Rob McCullough throw down. So, yeah, shout out to you, Sean Fazzulo. You know the deal, man. WEC was my favorite promotion of all time, man. Diehard WEC fan. Too bad the UFC and all that makes it so hard to even get merchandise from the WEC. I can't even get a shirt of the damn WEC. If anybody knows where to get some WEC merchandise, let me know. Kevin from Chicago, man. True pleasure having you on the show. shout out to you once again, man. I will see you guys Saturday. The Fight Companion should be going down. Should be doing the Fight Companion Saturday. I'll keep you guys updated. I'll let you know if anything. But, if anything, we'll go live for a couple fights towards the main event for sure. We'll watch that Silva fight together. I'll open up the show, and I hope all you guys have a profitable event. What else is going on, man, in the world, non-MMA related, before I get out of here, man? I hope all you guys are doing good out there. The world's crazy, right? It's crazy. What can we say, man? Just waiting for the world to get back to normal, start hitting up these UFC events. I want to start hitting up these live shows. I don't know how long it's going to be before things get back to normal. It's going to be a crazy month coming up. November, we got the election. Things are going to be crazy. You guys all be safe out there, man. Oh, I'll tell you guys this much too. So, Chris Dawkins, you guys know Kyle Dawkins. I had him on the show. Chris Dawkins, my big underdog play that I did hit on Chris Dawkins. Just talked to Chris Dawkins. He was actually going to be my guest for today's show, and it just hasn't been working out with him. So as a lot of you guys probably know, they're from Philadelphia. Chris Dawkins is a police officer in Philadelphia. So if you guys are watching the news and whatnot, if you guys see what's going on in Philly, they've been burning the city down. It's been crazy over there. A lot of battling with the cops and the protesters, or whatever you want to call them. And so he's out there on the front lines, man, Chris Dawkins. Otherwise, he was going to be on my show today, but he's not able to do that. I don't know when I'll get him on the show, because who knows when things are going to clean up. Maybe next Thursday we'll have Chris Dawkins on the show. Remember that underdog play I cashed in and grabbed them at a juicy, juicy line. One of the better plays I hit. Also, how about the World Series? If you guys catch me on Instagram, MMA Fortune Teller _, you guys saw I posted on my story. I hit up the Dodgers to win the World Series, got them at plus 155. I threw a G on that, which is a 2-unit play for me. A lot of you guys ask. 1 unit is $500 for me. 2-unit play in the Dodgers. I took them before the Braves, before the National League Championship Series. They were down 3-1. If you guys watch baseball, man, it was crazy, man. They came back. They won that series. They won the World Series the other night. So that was a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun. And yeah, man. Sebastian, you could always reach out to me, MMA Fortune Teller _. Shoot me a DM, man. We could talk about my plays. Otherwise, you guys just check me out here. I try to give you as much insight as I can. You guys know I live and breathe this MMA stuff, just like all of you guys, man. That's why you guys are in here right now. We live anything MMA related, UFC related, all this type of stuff. And, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure, man, being able to chat with you guys, and for you guys to give me the time to give me your guys' ears. And like I always say, man, I appreciate all you guys. I think on that note, it's time to sign out. I will probably most likely catch you guys Saturday. So, yeah, make sure you guys get your TP. It's going to be a TP shortage again. The daily COVID numbers are higher than ever. It's tough out there. You guys all be safe, man. Much love to all of you guys, man. Got a lot of love for all my supporters out there. You guys all have a great night, and enjoy this main event, man. Gegard Mousasi versus Lima, man. Let's watch.